What's going on, guys? Philip at Trade Genius. All right, just a quick Bitcoin update. I want to go over some technicals and look at some price levels that are in play currently and going forward for the week. We have some technicals here, the stochastics. I want to talk about this formation because this can lead to a fairly good move. So I want to talk about that. Need to be careful on the downside there. The heat map on our delta indicator has also flipped to a short status after holding the long for a while. So I wanted to talk about that. We'll look at the gap chart, and also we'll take a look at our VWAP levels. I want you guys to take note of these levels for future price action. And then last but not least, we're going to take a look at the BitMEX order book heat map. Pretty interesting stuff here. We'll talk about that. All right, guys, let's dive into this video.
Trade Genius.
All right, guys, and real quick, before we dive into our material, Holiday is the promo code for 50% off. So if you want to get something in the store, like the indicator, moneymaker, you can get 50% off that for your access. Black Friday specials are over, thanks to all of you who purchased. We do have holiday specials running, though, at discounted pricing. And you can check that out at our website, tradelikeagenius.com. All right, let's dive into the material. So this is the stochastic RSI. Take note, whenever we have bands separating like this, what can happen is acts like you're pulling back on a rubber band and it snaps back down. So what I'm talking about there is you need to be careful. Kind of saw that initially happened back here, but I really start to take note when these cross over. So if you look at the formation similar to what we saw here, and we've seen it multiple times on this downtrend. So when we get the crossover here, you'll notice price takes out these lows, and obviously our low is down here at 65. I still think this is pretty strong for a low to hold just because of the price action that I've been seeing. But the risk when we get these separations in the stochastic is that these lows get tested. I think we are going to see some lows getting tested, but I think more than likely the first thing that'll happen is we see a sub 7K probe, meaning price breaks 7K, probes around into the upper 6,000s, and then bounces back up. We are running out of time as we approach halving, and so that tends to stabilize price. Now, we do have external factors like, say, the Plus token scam dumping an excess amount of Bitcoin onto the market. That is still being monitored, and if that subsides, then you can easily see this thing stabilizing and starting to take back off. I still think the top of this channel is going to get touched on this current cycle. We are in a moneymaker buy condition. And I was actually expecting, if you guys remember in the last video, I said if we're pivoting down into the CME expiration, watch if we don't see, in this case, we bounced up and then rolled back over, and we were kind of expecting that that's a possible move, and we've gotten that. So I think, we could test this lower wick here. So we put in the low, we had a wick here that really wasn't back tested too much. So I think this 6,850 low, that could get tested. All right, Bitcoin likes to retest these levels, and this formation on the stochastics would support that. So having a hard time getting above this faster moving average, and the stochastics are a little bearish here. So look for that type of price action as we move forward through the week. The delta was trending up nicely. So this is basically looking at the nearest futures contract on BitMEX and whether or not it's behaving bullishly or bearishly. And right now we flip back to bearish. This move here, we'll see this on the gap chart that we're going to talk about here in a bit, but that was largely closing the gap on that chart. Really no follow through. And the books, as you'll see on our last chart, they're pretty thin. So you're going to get a lot of this basically stop hunting price action. But futures, the near-term futures contract isn't being bought up, so things are starting to go sideways here, and we are actually trending or getting a short indication on the heat map. But that there, sometimes you're going to get that, or it's going to flop back and forth if things start to flatline. And a big indicator of very range-bound price action is when our slower moving average kind of goes flat, and as you can see, it's been flat since the beginning of the month, and nothing's really changed there. So there's not a lot playable information here based on the delta indicator, other than if this thing starts to roll back over, heading back towards zero. I would be looking for a buyable dip at that point. But right now, it's just things are getting really flat. So volatility will basically come down, and then that's when we can look at the BVOL indicator. And once that hits less than 1.9, you can look for probably a pretty large move. Which direction, that'll be a game time decision, but you want to keep an eye on that BVOL indicator that we talked about in the last video. The gap, this was recently closed, so we had looking on the 4-hour chart, we had a nice gap from over the weekend, and that was closed on that wick one time. Boom, done. The 50% mark, so remember, we keep track of these 50% levels between the gaps, and so currently I have that at 76.62. So look for the price to react off that level on a first approach. Other than that, with regards to what gaps are open, 11,795 is really the only one that's open to speak of. So that's going to get tagged, guys. It's just a matter of time, and probably starts making a move towards that after the first of the year. All right, VWAPs. As you can see, Gabe, we've covered this before, but just a primer. The green line here, that is the yearly VWAP. So that was established off of last year's 2018 range. And then we have a developing VWAP based on the price action in 2019. And whatever we close at here on December 31st will be the VWAP for 2020. So we've basically just been hugging that VWAP. That actually makes sense. And then really what we want to see now is basically a departure from these yearly VWAP levels and start moving away from that. But you will see that, especially with the yearly VWAPs, that you'll see price come back, retest it. And essentially, that's what we've done here. And we've pretty much stabilized in this range now. So that's kind of like your big picture to take a look at where we are in relation to these levels. And again, the yearly VWAP going forward will probably print out north of $8,500 if things stay pretty consistent here. So that'll be, if we're not at 8,500 after the first of the year, that's going to be a pretty strong magnet going forward into the first quarter of next year. If we look at these levels here, these are levels on the right here that are basically historical monthly VWAPs, and they'll come into play. Red lines are quarterly VWAPs. So you want to take note of these levels, especially on the quarterly ones, because price will tend to bounce off of them either as support or resistance. And so the two that are in play right now are 69.15 and 78.11.50. So keep note of those levels as we progress through the week here. The next things that I'd be looking at as far as VWAPs are developing VWAPs that we have up here at 81.52, and we have another level here, monthly VWAP level at 85.96. Okay, so if things get really spunky between now and the next time we do a video, those levels, these are the levels that I would be looking at. Again, 85.80 area, the 81.71 area, and I think more importantly would be the 78.11 and the 69.15. So just note those levels on your chart. For VWAP levels tend to get reactions off of that. Last thing I want to talk about is the heat map. So this is a BitMEX order book heat map. Basically what the colors represent is, think of it as like white hot. So the more size, the brighter the colors. And if there isn't much size, then the color kind of goes dark. And when you notice when we have these big BART moves, what ends up happening is there's not a lot of size above these levels. You get kind of like this void in the terms of size, and then you'll get a BART through those levels. Okay, so this BARTed up. I know it's a little bit hard to see the candles, but this BARTed up into that void, right? And that's why the moves accelerate so quickly. I don't think there's just a lot of size there. And why those happen, people could be market buying. It could be strategic probes of levels to kind of feel out where size might be for a bigger move. You'll see it on the other side of that too. You see how this breaks through all this volume, all these orders that are resting here. You see that manifesting in volume here as it breaks, and then you kind of just fall through a trap door. There's a lack of size here. Now there is size building down at this level, and a lot of times when you see size on these heat maps, it kind of acts like a magnet. I'm kind of curious about this area here around 6,900. I do think, based on the stochastics and things like that, that this level here we may see this level even this week probing down there. I think people will get really bearish if that happens, but I also think that would probably fuel a short squeeze back the other way. So keep things in perspective. Don't get super bearish if we tap these levels. A lot of times that's just the game that's being played. Big players know that we're heading toward the halving. They're trying to get position long right now. Okay, that's just the mathematical equation. Bitcoin's output is going to be cut in half. Inflation is going to be cut in half. It's extremely bullish price action to follow. So looking at this, you can see there's a little bit of a void here, but not anything that we've seen in the past here. So it'll be interesting to see what happens, but I assume we're going to probably see some shenanigans. But I think if we can get a move down toward this area, guys, that's going to be a good area to get long for a swing trade. And you might even see some of these levels actually hold long term, where that these are like the bottoms of this cycle, and then price starts to head back toward that 11,700 gap. So just wanted to show you guys some of the footprints that you see from some of the bigger market players and how price will react to, basically what we see on the order books. So interesting take there. All right, guys, we'll bring this up in future videos too, and show you guys how price is reacting to what we see on the order book heat map. This is a beta program, so it's not readily available to the public, but you can check out tradinglight.com. And there's a beta that's going on there, and you might be able to get on the wait list and get access. All right, guys, that's it for this video. I hope it helps. Please hit like and subscribe. It really helps out our channel. We really, really appreciate that. And I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Bye-bye.
Trade Genius.